Hello again. We're on page 349 of my book, Days of Ragnarok, chapter titled Perspiration, continuation of Chris's account of the RECON expedition. Each car is sequentially moved out of the way, and I share an observation. This guy appears to be book smart but inexperienced. He set up a good roadblock but didn't flatten the tires. Not that I'm complaining right now. He employs a textbook force enhancer with the car bomb, but yet a wiring detail makes it useless. His bunker is perfectly built, but the location is awful. It's like he was consumed with textbook survival but never prepared for what comes after that. I guess you don't have to be a survivalist to fall into that trap, Sam says. I've seen people do this their whole life, spending fortunes and effort to extend their life only to die without a thought of what comes next. Speaking of what comes next, as we push the last car off to the side, I turn to Randy and announce I need to go back down that hole and see what you found. Tell me exactly which pails you looked at and where you saw the grenade. From the bunk area facing the ladder, it is in the pocket behind and between the first and second pails on the bottom row on the left. Randy is drawing in the dirt on the hood of the car that we just pushed off to the side of the road. Okay, I say, give me that flashlight. I'll be a while because I'm going to clear the whole bunker. Unless you hear a big boom, I'll be back in a bit. I break off a rearview mirror from one of the cars as Randy hands me the flashlight. I might need one of these. Be careful. I don't want to hear any booms, says Randy. Descending the ladder, alternative options flash through my mind, along with images of Becky and Gina. Taking a moment on the floor of the bunker, I shut out those thoughts and enter a singular focus on the mission at hand. Someday, perhaps years, a child may find this place and make it their play fort. Because I found it first, they will live to tell about it. Ripping a cover from one of the training manuals over the bed, I look around the room and find some duct tape. It's the cure to most things broken and a staple for any prepper. I roll the cover into a long tube and kneel down beside the pails on the left shelf unit, carefully and slowly examining the grenade from every available angle. I can see the pin that keeps the safety lever in place has been removed. The safety lever is spring-loaded, but now is held in place by the side of the 5-gallon pail. This booby trap is designed to injure or kill an unsuspecting looter when one of the pails is moved and the lever released. Finding 4 pails that are not rigged, I arrange them exactly as the ones holding the grenade from the book cover and form the book cover into a cylinder just small enough to slide into the pocket between the 4 pails. Securing it with duct tape keeps the sleeve from expanding. Back at the grenade, I tape the flashlight to the shelf unit to give me use of both my hands. There is just enough room between the top of the pails and the next shelf to work the sleeve down the space around the grenade. The intent is to keep that safety lever in place after the pails are moved. The next few seconds will tell if I get it right. Gently, I slide the second bucket forward to work my hand into the gap to keep the grenade from falling over. With my hand holding the sleeve, I can feel the grenade inside. As I remove it from its hiding place, I take the roll of duct tape in my left hand and using my teeth to peel back the end of the roll, I start wrapping the cylinder with tape. That's one, I say. Let's hope this was the last hope. This was his last hope. Realizing I'm talking to myself, I remember something my weapons trainer once told me. Talking to yourself is normal, arguing with yourself is questionable, but losing those arguments is certifiable. It seems funny now. Beginning at the bunk, I systematically and thoroughly inspect every crevice. Working around the room takes time when you're trying to get a cockroach view of the world. Discovering nothing more, I climb the ladder with my duct taped prize. Sam asks, "What can we do to help?" "Do we have any scissors?" I ask. "We have some bandage scissors in the first aid kit, Randy says. I'll get them. With scissors in hand, I hold the bundled grenade tightly with both hands and direct Sam to begin cutting the cover away from the top. Sam, we only want to expose the top inch of the fuse. I have the pin in my shirt pocket. Once the hole is exposed, get the pin from my pocket and put it back where it should never have left. Got it, says Sam, as he slowly begins cutting away at the sleeve. As the fuse and the pinhole come into view, I tell Sam, there it is, that's enough. Now get the pin from my pocket and work it back into the hole on the top of the lever. Make sure it comes out the hole on the other side. With the pin in place, I can release my grip and slide the grenade out of the paper sleeve. As soon as the grenade clears the sleeve, I see it. I don't believe it. The idiot never released the jungle clip. This thing wouldn't have gone off. What's a jungle clip? Asked Randy. This little wire thing over the lever, explains Chris. It was added in Vietnam because jungle brush would sometimes catch on the ring and snag out the pin while the grenade was still in your pocket. That could create a lot of extra stress, to put it lightly. To fix it, a secondary safety clip was added. To arm a grenade, you have to release the jungle clip, then pull the pin to release the lever. Our lone wolf just made 2 strikes. He didn't secure his wires when he rigged the roadblock, and he didn't know how to arm a grenade. I bet he learned to shoot from watching movies, too. John added, I guess suicide was strike 3. No one spoke for a moment, pausing to consider John's comment. Then I conclude, looks like he lived for a fantasy that never played. Let's load up what we can and use this, and what we can use and get going. We've burned a lot of time here. Without further interruption, the Oklahoma border yields to Kansas, but not much beyond as nightfall claims the day. Making a cold camp is routine, but the 4 extra blankets from the bunker are already appreciated in this Kansas spring night. Dinner tonight is MREs, and thanks to heating pouches that warm food packs by adding water to start a chemical reaction, it's a warm meal. Don't tell anyone I said this, but MREs aren't too bad. When you don't have a kitchen handy, they're passable. Randy unpacks the tablet computer and modem that Pat set up for texting over radio and connects it to the microphone jack of the radio. He sends a recorded text message on a preset frequency and awaits a reply. Text message, CQ, 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 KF5OSI, RT1, CQ, CQ, CQ. After several attempts, a reply is received. RT1, KF5OSI, copy. KF5OSI, RT1, start. Delayed by abandoned roadblock. Recovered new supplies. Crossed TX/OK. Arrived KS. Should reach target tomorrow midday. All safe. Missing you all. Out. Text reply. RT1 KF5OSI. Start. Message received. Praying for safe and successful return. Out. 365, or page 365, full stop. Chris's account of the expedition continues. Sam digs another Dakota hole and heats water for coffee. After a chilly night on the ground, even instant coffee is a treat. Randy comments, the MREs will be a big help on this trip. We won't have to stop and prepare meals. Laughing, I add, or stop for nature breaks. MREs are known to stop you up when you're just sitting. With a more serious look, Randy adds, I guess a morning walk would be a good medicine. Maybe I'll start soaking a pot of beans for tonight. I like beans, says John, but do we want to give away our position like that? We don't need a fire, Randy says. I can use the solar cooker as we drive. Then it dawns on him what John meant by giving away their position, and everyone laughs. As the miles continue to pass, Sam observes, I haven't seen a circle field in hours. For that matter, I don't see any irrigation pipe or sprinkler systems. Let's pick a small town and look around. There's a fair-sized river up ahead with small towns all along it, says Randy. No telling if anyone is there or what we'll find, but we have to start somewhere. Turning off the highway toward the next farm town, Randy's question is soon answered. Sam stops the truck at a large clump of brush and announces, this looks like a fire hydrant to me. Any of you dogs need that need to, this is your tree. John walks around to the front of the truck toward a small tree when the dirt explodes about 6 feet in front of him with a crack, followed by a moment later by a soft boom. What was that? John yells. That is a universal don't take another step command, I explain. I suggest you obey it. Everybody stay where you are. John is really scared. I'm supposed to just stand here and let someone shoot me? These people have been shooting deer at twice that range, I expect. If they wanted you dead, you wouldn't be standing now. Just stay put. I'll bet they're glassing us right now. I'm going to make nice. In one hand, I take the AR-15 we got from the bunker, and in the other hand, the .308 from camp. Holding them over my head and walking about 50 feet in front of the truck, I lay them on the road and walk back to the truck. In a low, calm voice, I give instruction. Now slowly walk to the front of the truck and kneel, with your hands folded behind your head. No fast movement. Randy asks, you think it's smart to just give up? I say, did you notice the delay between the crack and the boom? The crack was from the bullet breaking the sound barrier, and the boom was the rifle going off. That short delay says our shooter is between 300 to 600 yards away, and we already know he's a good shot. I'm willing to gamble that whoever's behind the bolt doesn't want to shoot us down yet. Quietly, the faint sound of a motor grows louder and closer. A Gator ATV makes its way toward us, with a driver and 2 armed men with shotguns. The armed men get out and separate by about 20 feet as the driver says, you men are fortunate to be alive right now. 2 months ago, you would have been shot where you stand. We've suffered a lot of would-be looters and buried most of them. I want answers to 3 questions, and you had better convince me you're telling the truth. Or, well, we've already discussed the fate of previous liars. First, what's your names? My name's Chris Spencer, and to my right is Randy Fowler, Sam Elliott, and John Stubbs. That's a good start, says the driver. Now, where are you from? Chris responds, we came from South Texas near Big Bend. We've been on the road 2 days. Now, what are you doing here? The driver continues. We're scouts, I reply, trying to recon a suitable place for a group of about 50 civilians who can't go back to their homes and need a place to begin a new life. We're not looters and mean no harm. We'll see about that, he says. I'll be having to take you into town for further questioning. You'll be bound, and one of these 2 men will be driving your truck. We've nothing to hide. You'll want to disarm us further, says Chris. Each of us has a sidearm, either on us or in the truck. I set out the long guns as a show of good faith and recognition that your shooter, who still has his crosshairs on us, is a fair shot. We're not bad men. Son, you're rather perceptive, says the driver. Only the shooter isn't a him, but a her. She's my daughter, and I've seen her drop a running deer at 800 yards. Uncanny how she does it. One of the men holding shotgun moves to retrieve some rope from the back of the Gator as the driver gives further instruction. One at a time, you boys step forward with your hands behind your back. We'll load you up in the truck for the ride into town. Watching someone collect all your defenses and empty your guns as they tie up both you and your friends is a new level of humility. Making a run for it may have been successful, but at what cost? Somehow, as bad as this appears, it seems the right thing to do. Attempting to talk with either of the 2 guards proves futile. They make no sound and clearly don't wish to talk with us. One drives the truck and the other holds guard over us. True to my guess, the Gator stops about 500 yards up the road and picks up a young girl who can't be out of high school yet. She carries a bolt-action rifle in a shooter's bag. The way she carries herself and her equipment reaffirms we made the right choice not to run. I've seen plenty of U.S. military snipers, and there is a tendency for them to be a quiet sort who rarely talk shop. This girl appears no different, except that she's so young. Her dark brown hair is straight, pulled back, and braided to keep it out of her way. She appears athletic and has haunting gray eyes that are difficult to forget. I only get a glimpse of her eyes as she hardly pays us a glance. This girl is all business. About a quarter mile further, we come to a stop in front of a gas station convenience store, a small post office, an old church, and a Grange Hall. In the distance is what looks like a small rural medical building, but that's all there is to town, wherever we are. Two more men mount the truck and remove us as our guards stand ready. The only words we hear from anyone but the driver come from one of the two other men who simply says, "This way." In the Grange Hall, we are seated in 4 chairs, each in a different corner of the hall. It appears we are to be questioned apart from one another. A rope is tied over our lap and under the chair, then again around our chest and behind the back of the chair. Now our hands are untied and questioning begins. "What's your name?" Comes a surprisingly pleasant tone from one of the previously silent guards. "I'm Chris Spencer, recently separated U.S. Army." "I suspected as much," replied my interrogator. "Where are you from?" I began telling my story. I grew up on a farm in Iowa, joined the Army, and my wife and I and our daughter lived just south of Lubbock until the world fell apart. Things got ugly, so we headed south, only to have me get sick, and I nearly died in an abandoned airport hangar. Some folks found us and took us with them to their camp up in Big Bend. We've stuck with them since. That's where my wife and daughter are. Those are who we're scouting for. They're good people. Prompting me to continue, the guard asks, "Is that where your people are now?" "Not exactly," I say. "We couldn't winter there. Buildings are too loose and hard to heat. We found a small town that took us in for the winter, but it's not a place to grow food." "Where is this town?" asked the guard. "I'm not ready to give that up just yet," I answer. "Not until I know they're safe." "Understood," says the guard. "What sort of people are they?" I continue. "Good people, God-fearing. They even formed their own church and called a pastor. Most are from the same oil company in Houston. The owner took preparedness seriously and offered a lot of training. He owns the ranch where we stayed in Big Bend." Prompting further, the guard asks, "Can these people take care of themselves?" The group has gardeners, engineers, hunters, fishing guides, cooks, builders, welders, soap makers, you name it. We even have a registered nurse, I explain. At mention of an RN, the guard's attention noticeably intensifies. Taking note of the change, I gather there may be need for medical help among these people. The guard steps away and confers with other interrogators. Another interrogator steps up and asks similar questions, then a third, finally the fourth. After what seems like a long time of discussion between the interrogators, our ropes are removed. The driver of the gator enters and says, "Your stories match, so we've decided to cut you loose. You're not free to go yet, but we'll give you liberty to walk around a bit while we consider things further. Please understand, if you try to run, you'll be shot before you get to the road. We have shooters watching every way in and out. Now, this is my son, Josh. He'll show you where you can wash up before dinner." Well, now, I know the name of my first interrogator. Josh is still very quiet and won't give up any information about their town or what's to become of us. A pail of water is waiting on a bench outside the Grange Hall and a hand towel. We each take turns washing the road dust off as I notice activity across the street in a small park area under the trees. I hadn't noticed picnic tables in the park before, but a woman and 2 girls are setting up what looks like lunch. Josh says just 2 more words, "Over there," and we walk to the park table. As we cross the street, I see that our truck and trailer are gone. "What have you done with our truck? We have supplies in there that are needed by a lot of innocent people." Josh only says, "It's safe, don't worry about it." I can see Randy, Sam, and John are real uncomfortable with how things have turned out, but it's not like we had any choice in the flow of things. Lunch is simple, but an improvement over MRE's. Egg salad on a bread roll and tea taste remarkably good. Complimenting the ladies, "Ma'am, we've been on the road a few days, and this egg salad sandwich is really good. Thank you." Randy, Sam, and John each nod in agreement, but seem reluctant to speak. The ladies simply say, "You're welcome," and walk away. They are polite but don't care to engage in conversation. Hazel Creek. After lunch, we are instructed to rest here at the park until called. I get the feeling there is a meeting going on and our fate is being decided. About a half hour passes, and the driver of the gator returns and tells Josh they're ready. Josh and the other guard motion us to follow our gator driver. I mentioned it would be a lot easier if I knew more of your names than Josh here. No response. Walking past the convenience store, I notice several of the windows are broken out and what appear to be gunfire damage to the siding. We are directed into the church, and upon entering, see a table of 5 men seating behind it. Standing before them has the feel of an inquisition. The man on the far left speaks first. My name is Vince Parker. I'm the acting mayor of Hazel Creek. That's the name of this farming community that you've stumbled into. My apologies for what you might consider inhospitable treatment, but I assure you these are kind and God-fearing people. Your stories all seem to measure up, but I have some further questions after examining the contents of your truck. Vince then removes a cloth that has been covering the M79 grenade launcher and several rounds of its ammunition. Next to them is the hand grenade. Vince continues, would you mind explaining where you got such hardware and what God-fearing, peaceful-minded souls such as yourselves are doing with it? Skepticism is evident on each of the 5 men's faces, but doom and gloom paints the face of Randy, Sam, and John. Strangely, though I should be frightened, I'm not. I clear my throat and begin speaking. I am prior military and have used grenade launchers such as this during my Army service. However, these are not mine. It was provided to us for protection by Jason Connors, who retrieved it from his father-in-law's ocean-going sailboat. Though it is considered illegal in nearly every port and country, it's one of the finer deterrents to piracy and was kept for that purpose. Our scouting mission included the possibility of crossing paths with similarly unpleasant persons, and we carried it for that purpose, I hope you understand. Standing before these men, I remember a line my father used to tell me, truth unlocks doors 1,000 lies can't open. I hope he's right today. Vince covers the M79 with the cloth again and asks a few more questions. Pardon my skepticism, but what kind of scouting mission requires 3,700 rounds of ammunition and a grenade launcher? I'm sure Vince was caught a bit off guard when I smiled before answering his serious question. I bet that does look just a bit suspicious. Yesterday, about mid-morning, we came to a roadblock protecting a bunker. The bunker wasn't active, but the roadblock was wired with explosives, and we had to get through. On entering the bunker, we found a single occupant had ended his life, and most of the ammunition, the rusty .45, hand grenade, and the AR-15 belonged to him. That's where we got the MREs and the other survival gear. Additionally, we scavenged some essentials from an abandoned small town in New Mexico. We intend on taking that back to our group. Vince continues his question. You have ham radio gear in your truck. Can you reach your group interlingua with it? Instantly, I look toward Randy, Sam, and John. It's John who lowers his head. Vince continues, don't think poorly of your friends. Each person protects different information, and these are minor details. Besides, we have no intention of attending the next chili cook-off. Can you reach your group from here? Randy answers, we can. To save power, we use a small tablet computer with a modem to send text messages. We check in every night at 10 o'clock. Can you talk with them by voice? Vince seems to be driving at something. We could ask them to go voice and then switch over, but at first they'll set up for data and won't recognize a voice signal, Randy explains. Vince says I would like you to do that tonight while we are there, and I want to speak with your leaders there. I'll do that, replies Randy. Vince is the only person to have spoken more than a few words since we arrived. The others seemed cold and distant. Your truck will be brought to the Grange Hall tonight, Vince says. All your gear has been removed for now, but it is safely stored. We aren't thieves. Tonight at 10 o'clock, you will contact your group and establish a voice connection. You will only tell them that you require a voice connection, nothing more. Is that understood? Understood, Randy replies. Next to the radio in the truck is a radio logbook. It contains alternate frequencies and information that I might need if the propagation changes. Before he can say more, Vince replies, "It will be there with the radio." We are ushered out to wait in the Grange Hall under guard. The guards don't seem as tense, but they still aren't willing to answer questions. The hours pass very slowly. John says his first words since we are apprehended, and his emotions are running high. "Chris, if these people kill us, I may never speak to you again. What the hell is going on?" Randy adds, "I can't figure these people out either. They're all acting like they stepped out of a horror movie. It looks bad on the surface, but I trust my gut on this one," I say. "If they wanted to kill us, we'd already be dead. If they intended to loot our supplies, why haven't they done it? Something happened here, but this is Kansas, and these people are farmers of America's heartland. I think they're scared and cautious, but exactly the kind of people we're looking for. Their questions are honest, and as long as our answers don't hide anything, we'll be okay. And John, I truly value your conversation and wouldn't dream of jeopardizing it." For the first time in Hazel Creek, we have something to smile about. Sam speaks his first since arriving. I've been watching. Vince is the spokesman, but the others seem to have a say. They're like a board or something. Their concerns seem to be answered, but they're not sold yet. This is like a contractor bid meeting. We're still in the game, but the decision is pending. "What do we do if this turns ugly?" asked John. "Let's wait and see," I suggest. "It's too early to implement an exit plan, but I've been noting all the routes out." And we will continue tomorrow. God bless.